Welcome to our live stream. Today, I am going to be announcing all of the details about the September Art Dare, which is going to ask all of you guys to design a poster for a movie. If you would like to grow as an artist and you can't afford an art class, we've got everything you need here at Art Prof, critiques and tutorials. I know some of you guys got a sneak peek of this Art Dare, and it is going to be to design your own poster of a movie that already exists. Now, the thing is, though, we're going to take a look at some different options. Specifically, we're going to get our inspiration from the graphic designer Saul Bass. So I'm going to just walk you guys through a couple of ideas, and I'm going to show you some of the designs that Saul Bass did. Chances are you guys have seen them, but have never heard his name before because his work is iconic, but a lot of people who are not really big into graphic design are not aware of his name. All right, so let's talk about the Art Dare. Now, it's really fun, you guys, just to get started with this Art Dare before you lift a finger to do anything. Just Google movie posters, because my goodness, there's such an incredible range of posters that have been done. You think about ones like Gone with the Wind, which is obviously a very old film. And those were movie posters that were full out like commissioned oil paintings. That was actually really truly an art form for a long time, was painting movie posters. And then there are pieces like this movie poster for Psycho, which is a little bit more designed. It's less a painting. And so just look, see what's out there. And it's interesting how, depending on the era of the movie and also the type of movie, there are different stylistic choices. For example, if you guys think about the whole superhero genre, there is this typical cast of characters where they seem to rank people in terms of importance, in terms of size. So we see, for example, Black Panther on the left-hand side. We have the Wonder Woman image on the right-hand side. And I think what you guys will notice is that actually a lot of these, you thought you were going to get a stream without Michael Fassbender. No, not this time, guys. But what you'll notice is that actually a lot of recent movie posters don't tend to be designs, don't tend to be paintings. A lot of them really have become photo montages, stills and images from the movies. And so it really is so different when you think about the aesthetics of movie posters and how much they have changed. For example, if we go back and we look at some past Benedict Cumberbatch films and we examine the artistry and composition of Benedict's face and how it was placed dead center on the right-hand side. And of course, the other interesting thing, I promise this is educational, it really is. I really do have a point. Sometimes with movie posters, there's different versions. So for example, they'll have a main version of the movie poster, but sometimes they'll have 10 different versions and one has Hugh Jackman and another one has all the other people who you could care less about. So I think this is really cool because movie posters, to me, they're quite fluid when you think about it, because sometimes they will re-release a film or sometimes they've updated it somehow. And so it's giving it a different look. So what I think is really interesting, especially in terms of graphic design, and you guys can tell me this if you think this is true. You know, when you pick up a book or even a thing of toothpaste and you look at the design, you go, that is definitely from the 50s. Like there's something about graphic design, which to me really screams time period in a way that other things oftentimes do not. All right, let's talk about Saul Bass. If you've never heard of him before, I am sure you have seen his work. He really is the quintessential graphic designer of the 20th century. And even if you don't know him, you probably have seen these logos all over the place. Now, like movie posters, logos also evolve and change. And what you'll see is that a lot of Saul Bass logos have actually been updated. Like they'll have this logo. Like, I think there was the Geffen logo where in the beginning, Saul Bass just made it a line and then they turned it into a 3D sphere. And so even if you've never seen him, I mean, it's like, what did this guy not design in terms of logos? So anyway, really cool guy. Definitely take a look. Now, the other thing that Saul Bass did, in addition to the logos, the poster design, he really changed the role of the title sequence in movies. So I think for the longest time, we all just sort of assume, oh yeah, movies, of course they have a title sequence. Title sequences are really fun and they're so exciting. For the longest time, you guys, in movies, title sequences were nothing. Like, nobody cared about them. And it really was not until Saul Bass came along and he really changed the role of the title sequence. I mean, I really feel like a title sequence for a movie is really an art form in itself. By the way, tell me, you guys, what are your favorite title sequences of movies? Because for me, off the top of my head, definitely Alien, the old one, the one with Sigourney Weaver, the first one, not the Prometheus and Alien Covenant with a certain actor who actually did not look very hot in that movie. So anyway, Alien, I would also say The Untouchables, which had Kevin Costner and Sean Connery. Oh, amazing title sequence. So tell me, you guys, what movies come to your mind with this? Absolutely. Tom G says, this scene's intimidating to me. I don't think I have the skills for this one, but I can't wait to see everyone's take on it. You know what, Tom? You do. Okay. It's just that I think our perception of what a quote good design is, it's very different. And I think once you guys take a look at some of these movie posters by Saul Bass, I think you're not going to be as intimidated. So let's take a look at what people are doing. Yeah, like Isaac is mentioning the James Bond title sequences. Like, those are always like such a big deal. Levi Fiction says the Great Muppet Caper. So Neil is saying here, what exactly is the title sequence? Okay, so that's basically before the movie actually begins. It's where they have the words across the scene that say The Shining, directed by this person, and then some of the names of the actors come up. And so it's not part of the film in terms of the story and stuff like that. It's really how the audience gets introduced to that. And so Saul Bass was so unusual because your average graphic designer who designed logos and things like that did not do this, okay? He was really unusual in that sense, but it makes total sense. Like, why would you not want a graphic designer to design the title sequences? And yet I don't know a lot of people that really do this that much. I really feel like Saul Bass is really the guy that actually did that. Okay, so when you guys look at Saul Bass's movie posters, tell me in the chat, how do these movie posters that you're looking at here, how do these look different than the movie posters that you see today? For example, think about the Avengers movies, okay? They have really intricate posters, there's photos and lots of characters. And think about this poster, okay? This is a poster for a very old film called The Magnificent Seven, okay? And I think a lot of people do think about movies as being figurative, because usually if it's live action, there are people in the film, okay? And so typically I feel if somebody made a poster for The Magnificent Seven today, we probably would have some type of photo montage of the seven people who are in the film. But look at this. Saul Bass just turns it into these tally marks. Like, this is so sparse and so minimal, and yet it really has impact, okay? So what Tom G was saying earlier about, I don't know if I have the skills for this. You guys have the skills for this for sure. This really is a design prompt, which we have not done as much here. So I'm really, really excited to do this. Like Siren is saying, simplistic and bold. Levi Fiction says lacking people, dramatic lighting, intense reused poses. Starving Artist says less photography. And so this is so different, you guys, than what we typically associate with an actual current movie poster that is around today. Now, here is one of his most famous posters of all. And this actually was commissioned by Alfred Hitchcock to Saul Bass to create this movie poster. And I love this so much because it's like, look at that design. Like, it's so minimal, and yet it perfectly captures what the film is really about. So what I really like about these images is that he really thinks about shape, he thinks about space, and he thinks about the placement of the text as well. And that's something a lot of people do not do. So I would love to see you guys really think about the interaction, the relationship between text and image. Because what I usually see, you guys, anytime I give some sort of design assignment where people have to put text and image together, most people will make an image first and then say, oh, I need to add some text, and then they just tack it on. But I don't think that's a good idea. I think for these designs, you have to think about how does the text and image relate from the get-go? Like, isn't this cool? This one that says Grand Prix. I mean, it's like the text is so well integrated. Yeah, like Miguel is saying here, current posters really overuse the blue and orange contrast. Alice in Wonderland says it has more white space, makes good use of it. BV is saying Saul Bass's posters were very graphic. They look like screen prints, and they also look like block prints. And this is a great comment too. BV is saying that Vertigo poster, this one I'm showing you here, makes me nauseous. Yeah, and it's like Saul Bass never used photos for any of these. And I think the assumption today with the movie posters that you see is that you are going to see a photo of Hugh Jackman somewhere in there with, all those muscles and stuff like that. So this is really different, you guys, because really what you're being asked to do is you're being asked to communicate a lot with very little. So instead of using 10,000 words, I'm saying, you know what, you guys, just use 10, okay? Let's just see what you guys can do with that. Delaney is asking, are there any movie posters that aren't done with graphic design? I mean, putting together a movie poster in itself, that is graphic design. Like, it doesn't matter if there's photos or if it's a design like what you guys see here. Like, any type of situation where there is an arrangement of text and graphic images, that's graphic design. So graphic design, I think, is a very broad field. I mean, it really goes into so many different areas. Movie posters is such a niche area of graphic design. And W315 says in the 70s, early 80s movie posters were heavy on illustration. Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because you'll notice that actually a lot of the Star Wars movies, those have like full out paintings. Like, there was actually, when I was at RISD in the 90s, there was a course that was called movie poster illustration. And I was thinking to myself today, you know what? They would never have a class like that today because that art form really is over because digital media took over, and now people really are not commissioning illustrated movie posters the way they used to. I mean, I'm sure some people do it now and then, but that really was the height of that art form in terms of producing movie posters. Let's see. W315 says Toulouse-Lautrec made posters that are the ancestors of these. That is a great suggestion. If you guys have never seen, Toulouse-Lautrec made these wonderful posters for the Moulin Rouge. So he did a lot of these lithographs of Jane Avril, a lot of the performers at the time. And so it's a really cool thing to look at and see how these images have changed. And BV is saying, I feel like actors these days want to be marketed on movie posters, so it's become so common now. That's probably part of it, although I suspect a lot of it has to do with trends, that certain things come in and out and things are cool for a little while and then they're not. So anyway, pretty cool. So if you guys look at these, they don't have much, but they also think about the font. Like, do you guys see how quirky and almost awkward the font is? And then great use of positive and negative space, okay? So if you don't know what I'm talking about, in this poster, the positive space would be the black shapes of the person, okay? The negative space would be the orange background. But do you guys see how Saul Bass has taken the text Anatomy of a Murder and put it inside the figure, but then you have black letters that say Auto Premingers. And so that's like a reverse, okay? So you have black text on orange background, orange text on black background. So if you guys decide to do the dare, definitely think about shapes, think about negative space, think about positive space. Really, really exciting. Antonia is asking, this is kind of similar to graphic design in vinyl. Yeah, I mean, album covers, that's a whole other area of graphic design for sure. I mean, an album cover is not exactly the same thing, but yes, that is definitely another form of graphic design. Yeah, I mean, this art dare, like all of our art dares, it's really, really broad, okay? And so that's why I was suggesting, if you guys don't really know where to start, just Google movie poster and you're going to see all these cool movie posters. You're going to get really excited. Or another thing you could do is just pick a movie, okay? Like, don't even give yourself all those options. Just say, okay, I definitely want to do this movie and let's just focus on that. Or you can just approach it from the visual. I mean, there's a million different ways that you could do that. Iconic is asking, how exactly did he make these? I don't actually know about that because I didn't research it, but I'm sure you guys can look it up. I mean, none of them were digital. Okay, so I am going to guess that probably some of them were collages, maybe some of them were paintings. I'm not actually sure. I mean, it's possible that some of these were actually prints. I mean, this one here for West Side Story, I would suspect that maybe this was done on a letterpress because those are those quintessential letterpress type letters that you see. And so really, really cool. Scott Gilly is saying Rosemary's Baby was iconic. The lone stroller propped up in the middle of the poster, unnatural, unsettling, and relevant to the story. Yeah, so I think it'd be really great for you guys to take a look at not just the look of the poster, but really the meaning of the poster. Because in a lot of these, you think about, okay, what is the prevailing image or idea in the story that really comes across? Like, look at this West Side Story one. Don't you guys think this is so clever? The fire escapes that are on the right-hand side of the text. Like, think about how fire escapes on the side of a building basically say, oh, it's in an urban setting. Because you don't have fire escapes on the side of the building if you live in the country, okay? And so he was so good, I think, at just pulling the bare bones essential images from the story to translate that. Okay, and actually this was the last movie poster that Saul Bass actually created, but I believe they never actually released it. I can't remember why, but it did not end up being the final official movie poster, but it's still really interesting if you look at his poster versus the poster that they ended up using, which was much more based on a photograph. So it really does almost look weird because Schindler's List is a fairly recent movie compared to these other ones. And there is this strange, like, okay, that's sort of weird because the text really does feel like it's from the 60s. And so it's really, really different. Alice in Wonderland says, I'm definitely guilty of thinking about words last, not realizing the way the words look conveys a story. Yeah, like I think you guys, if we go back to West Side Story, the integration of the text, look at the T. Does everybody see the T in the word West? How the T, it just blends into the shape of the fire escape. Like that to me is brilliant, okay? So guys, think about text and image together. Don't look at them as being separate because they absolutely are going to jump on top of each other. Okay, so let's talk about what the guidelines are for the art dare. We're going to ask you guys to use black and white for sure. And these do not have to be flat shapes. You can definitely do shading and rendering and all that stuff if you want, okay? So any version of black and white you want to put into the poster. And then what you're going to add to that is 1 to 2 colors of your choice, okay? So if you just want to do 1 extra color, that's fine. If you want to do 2, that is fine as well, okay? Now, next, you also need to add the movie title text. So if the movie is Imitation Game, you're going to want to put the words Imitation Game into the movie poster, okay? Now, the other stuff like directed by Martin Scorsese or starring Michael Fassbender, You can add that stuff, okay? It's not required, though. If you guys just want to do the movie text, that's fine. I mean, some movie posters, there's tons of text, so it's completely up to you guys, but you definitely want to put in the movie title for sure. Starving Artist is asking, should the poster be made using traditional methods or programs such as Canva? Anything you guys want. You can use any media. It can be digital, it can be traditional, painting, whatever you guys want to do. I think it should be pretty fun to see what types of art media that people end up choosing. I want to give a shout out to Tom G. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. As you guys know, all of our content is 100% free, and we rely entirely on donations to keep Art Prof up and running. Sophie B, thank you for joining us. I'm glad that you found us. An Art Dare is basically a monthly art challenge. So you guys have the whole month of September. The Art Dare is due the last day of the month, and I'll give you guys information on the website so you can see all of the nuts and bolts of the Art Dare. But that's pretty much what it is. It's a chance for you guys to really step outside of what you typically do. I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people like the Art Dares, is that it's something structured and there's a very visible deadline. So you know you have to get it done by a certain amount of time. We also offer, and this again, this is totally optional. You can skip this part if you want, because what we have done with the Art Dares is some people will just do one, and that's cool. You want to just do one movie poster? That's great, okay? Other people will do tons and tons, and some people have really done a great job with the Art Dare Leap. So the Art Dare Leap, it's basically a little bit more structure. So every single week of the month, we give you a subtopic that's within the Art Dare. Okay, so this time, because we're doing movie posters, week 1, we're going to ask you to pick a horror movie. Okay, week 2, romance. Week 3 is going to be an action movie. Week 4 is sci-fi. Okay, now again, you don't have to do the leap. You can totally ignore this, but some people have gotten some really, really cool things going on. Carol is asking, whoops, sorry. Carol says, what about using a series like The Haunting of Hill House instead of a movie? We're going to stick with movies because I think that that'll just keep the Art Dare a little bit more focused. And I do think that there's a whole genre of movie posters that is separate from stuff for TV shows. Oh, and I like this. Antonia is saying, I guess I'll use the Art Dare as my art homework. It will be fun. Yep, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Look at this. Scott Gilly doing a super chat to one-up their dad. I like this. I like this competitive nature of donating to Art Prof. Good job, father and son. Very cool, guys. Okay, so let's take a look at some more examples for you guys to look at. So here are some more contemporary examples, and they all follow the guidelines, which is black and white, plus 1 to 2 colors of your choice, and definitely having the movie title in there somewhere. Paula is asking, how do we share our art made for the Dare? Not a stupid question, not at all. I'm going to show you guys at the end of the stream. You can post on Instagram. We also have an upload form. So we have many options for you guys to do that. So I'm sorry, no picture of Christian Bale here, but he was in this movie. It's called Vice, and it's a good movie poster as an example. Also, Akira. Tell me, you guys, if you've seen Akira. Oh my God, Akira is the only animated film I have ever seen. I really thought I was going to throw up. Like, I have never watched a film that literally made me want to throw up. Like, it was so horrifying. If you guys have seen Akira, you probably know the scene I'm talking about where all the muscles and oh my God, it just like makes me ill thinking about this. But that's what's amazing about this film, is that it did have that visceral effect on top of me. And then this is a Daniel Day-Lewis film, which I fell asleep during, but it's a good movie poster as an example. And ones like The Godfather. I mean, this one to me is more similar to Saul Bass in that it is very graphic and straightforward. And now what I'm going to show you guys is some examples that our fabulous staff here at Art Prof made just for this Art Dare to get you guys thinking, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the original movie poster, and then I'm going to show you the version that our staff artists created that fit the Art Dare deadlines. Okay. So this is actually a Chinese film. I think it's called Battlehood of Brothers. I should have checked the name. But anyway, this is by Luna Wan, who is one of our fabulous staff artists. Luna's actually heading off to art school very, very soon. And it's just really fun, you guys, to see the difference between that photo montage version and something like Luna's, which I just think is so elegant. I mean, look at the way Luna has that splash of blood that is part of the sword, but it bleeds into the background. Like, I just think she did such an elegant job of this. I mean, I like hers better than the photo collage. Like the photo collage poster to me on the left, that one's like really busy, and I feel like I would not notice it if I was walking down the street. And so there definitely is, I think, a power in the simplicity of a lot of these examples. And Zachariah is saying the red, black, and white color schemes seem really good for a horror poster. Exactly. And Paula is saying, first Art Dare that I take part of. This is my favorite subject ever. Yeah, I think it's great, you guys. I mean, whether you've done them before, whether this is your first one, really, really fun. Sure, a lot of you guys probably saw this movie Parasite that came out. And let me tell you, I am so rarely surprised by movies because I usually watch them with my husband, and he's like a total film geek. So he always knows what's going to happen. Like 9 times out of 10, he will predict, he's like, yep, they're going to die. And I'm like, how did you know? Like, even when I don't think it's obvious, he knows. This was the one movie we were like, oh my God. Like, wow, that was a really big surprise. So tell me in the chat if you saw Parasite, if it surprised you, because I am rarely surprised by movies. So anyway, this is Parasite. And you guys can see on the upper right, this is Darinka Arones, who is another one of our incredible staff artists here at Art Prof. And guys, what a wonderful interpretation using those simple shapes, some of the textures down in the bottom and the black, and also the layering. Like, isn't it cool the way the big blue shape in the background, it sort of travels downwards? And I definitely think that Darinka did a great job of showing those diagonals. Like, you guys will notice that those diagonals, they really help with composition. People are always asking me about composition tips and how to make my drawings and my paintings better. Guys, this is a composition Art Dare. So if you guys are struggling with composition and that's something you want to work on, this is such a great exercise because it's not stuffed with a million figures and rendering and shading. Like, you really can like boil it down to just the bare basics. And I think that's what Darinka did here, is that she really created a lot with just very, very little. So definitely, you guys, think about this as a composition Art Dare. And by the way, if you did not know, we did do a movie art critique on the artwork in Parasite. So if you guys want to check this out, it is in our movie art critiques playlist here on YouTube. And here's another one, Alita Battle Angel, which I haven't seen like any of these movies. So like, anyway, and again, this is another example by Luna. And isn't it cool to see her interpretation? I mean, we saw before the one she did of the Battle of the Brotherhood, and this one's sort of similar. Stylistically, she's really taking advantage of the diagonals. And guys, one of my favorite things about Luna's interpretation here, does everybody see how the text like follows the upward motion? Like in the poster on the left, the title really stays at the bottom of the poster. And then I suppose that's so you can really focus on the figure. But I love that in Luna's, there's this like upward motion that you don't expect to see. And then look at how the blood from the fingers really creates this big X. Okay, so there's a lot going on in these designs. Like, even though these movie posters that we're seeing Luna and Darinka make, they're simple, they don't have a lot of rendering and stuff like that. It is work to think through these compositional choices and, okay, how am I going to get people to really look at this poster and want to stay with it? That's what is so difficult. Okay, Silence of the Lambs. Oh, this movie is so good. Okay, you young people, maybe you have not seen Silence of the Lambs. If you want to see a really, like, truly scary movie, this is a really scary movie. Older people, tell the younglings in the chat how freaking scary this movie is. Like, I was like having heart palpitations in that last scene. So anyway, this is again another very iconic movie poster. It was so big when it came out. I mean, it also won Best Picture, so that was another big part of that. But look at how different this is. Like, the imagery is so different. Like, I don't know if you guys could even see this, but do you see how the mask of Hannibal Lecter is like this cage that Jodie Foster is inside? Like, I just love the incorporation. The shape of the mask in there is really, really cool. Yeah, you guys are totally feeling me. The older people, or maybe you're a youngling that watches old movies or something, but oh my God, this movie is so good, so smart. Yeah, so definitely watch this. Let's see. Levi Fiction would like a definition of young people. I guess young people are people that are not me and don't know what all of my cultural references are, because it's all about me. The world revolves around me. So, that's how you definitely define things. Haza says, even some of us young people have seen it, or maybe that means I'm not young anymore. You don't know. So, okay, we got Silence of the Lambs and Joker, which is a very recent film that just came out. And we have this version here by Hema, another one of our wonderful staff artists. And do you guys see how different Hema's is, say, compared to this digital one by Luna? I don't remember exactly what material Hema used. I know it was definitely some paint. It looks like it might be gouache or something like that. But don't think that because we looked at the Saul Bass images and we saw Luna's, which are digital, that it has to be crisp and graphic. Like, actually, one of my favorite things about Hema's poster on the right is the little tiny ha-ha-has that are barely there. Like, she actually put in the paint a little bit less thick. So do you guys see how some of the text in the ha-ha-ha, some of those letters really come forward because they're super opaque and really dramatic. And then there's some that are really small and pushed back. And so that, to me, is one of the brilliant things of Hema's design, is that some of the words come forward, some of them go back. And then, wow, great job putting in those complementary color pairs, the red and the green having such a great contrast. Like, that green lip, it just pops out of those red texts. So definitely take a look at some of these. These are on the website, so you guys can see what people did. And then we also have Kikis delivery service, which is so cute. And if you haven't seen it, shame on you, because the Studio Ghibli, you don't want to miss out on this. It's one of the older films. And if you guys look at here, this is a version that Kira Held made. She's, again, one of our staff artists. And I just love the way that Kira brought attention to the big bow in Kiki's hair, because that is such a defining feature to her character. And look at this. This is so brilliant, guys. Do you notice in Kira's poster, there's no eyes on Kiki, which seems so strange, because you're like, oh, it's a character. Of course I'm going to put the eyes on the character. But the thing is, when you look at Kira's poster, you know that's Kiki, okay? You know it because of the cat. You know it because of the bow. You don't need the eyes. And so that, to me, is such a brilliant move. So some of this, I think graphic design, it's like you get rid of the things that really aren't necessary. And I think that Kira really did an amazing job with that. W315 says this dare would be a good use of gouache. Yeah, gouache is really great because you get very good opaque coverage, and you don't have to work too hard to really get the shapes onto the surface. And Starving Artist says, yes, gouache is a traditional medium for these and photographs. Vivian is asking, what software programs are the artists using to create these digital designs? I'm going to have to ask Luna. I'm not sure what she's using. She might be using Photoshop or Procreate. I'll have to ask her. But anyway, it's some digital media program. And we also have a movie art critique on the artwork. It's a painting by Ursula, one of the characters in the story, where Lauren and I critique this artwork. So you guys might want to check this out as well. And we always have prizes for the honorable mention winner. We have my book, which I will ship to you, or you can get 3 months access to our Discord voice channel, where we have weekly sessions. I pop in there in video. We can chat. It's so much fun. Okay. Those of you guys who've been in the Patreon voice channel, tell everybody how much fun we have. And then we also have a choice of a portfolio critique, a website critique, an Instagram critique, and this goes to the prize winner. And at the end of the Art Dare, eventually we collect all these people's work, and we do have a featured entries video where we show a selection of pieces that people made, and we also announce the winners. That usually happens the following month, like midway through, because it takes us a little bit of time to get all of that put together. And here's how you submit, okay? Our preferred way for you guys to submit is to tag us on Instagram, art.prof, and to also make sure you use hashtag #ArtProfDare, because if you forget to do that, it may be hard for us to find it. Make sure you do that. However, if you guys do not have Instagram, we do have an upload form. So what you want to do is just go to artprof.org. You're going to click on Art Dares in the main menu. And you're going to go to that main page. You got to scroll down, though, because then you're going to see Saul Bass's Anatomy of a Murder image. You just click on that, and that is going to take you to the September Art Dare page. So basically, all the information I gave you guys, all of the examples, the Art Dare Leap, when the submissions are due, all that stuff is on that page for your reference. And that link is in the video description below in case you guys are trying to find that. And so just click on this red button. It says Art Dare upload form. And so if you guys go to that link, it takes you to this form. And this is where you can just upload the image and send it to us. And we do send you guys an email notification, so that way you know your entry has gone through. Again, though, we do prefer Instagram. It is easier for us in terms of getting all the information across. But again, totally cool to use the upload form as well. Just don't do both, okay? Like if you guys tag us on Instagram, don't do the upload form as well, because then it gets confusing, because then we're getting like multiple entries in 2 different places. Not necessary. So just do one, upload form, or do it on Instagram. Art Prof has a podcast. It is available on Spotify and also on iTunes. We would love it if you guys would leave us a rating and a review. Please join us on Discord. We always have such a great time, guys. Hang out with me in the post live streams channel. If you are not in the Discord, shame on you, because it's where all the cool people hang out. The invite link is in the video description below. And subscribe to our channel and join the Art Prof family. And thank you so much to our top Patreon supporters. Guys, do you see how big this list is? Like, I remember when the list was like 4 names. Like, this is remarkable that so many of you guys are helping us do what we love, putting the content out there for you guys. So thank you to everybody in the chat asking questions. Great discussions going on, you guys. And we got a question here from Siren. If you do all 4 weeks, should you pick one to submit? Submit them all. We'd love to see that. Like, we've had people do like 20 versions of the Art Dare, and you just tag us. We want to see everything, okay? So don't just pick one. We want to see everything that you guys are doing. Yes, Antonia, we have a podcast. You guys have to definitely check that out. And so everybody, thank you so much. I hope you do the Art Dare. Come hang out with me in Discord. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.